Hello Internet, my name is Hīrō and welcome back to Geek Out. So, you know how last week I said I was doing something different? Well, this week we're doing something different too. Alright, so by this week, are you even surprised? You might be shouting to yourself, Hīrō, what are you doing? Well, this week I wanted to talk about My Hero Academia, but I didn't want to just talk about My Hero Academia. I wanted to actually do a character design with you guys too. So I thought I'd kind of combine the two of them together, do a design session while geeking out about My Hero Academia, since I'm super stoked for the new season coming out. Without any further ado, let's get started. So the thing is with My Hero Academia, there's a couple of things that I have to keep in mind before I start anything. And these are bullet points that I wrote out for myself at the very beginning, so that way my character design isn't just another character from the universe. I wanted to make sure that I was creating a character that could legitimately function in the My Hero Academia universe, along with the story and the plot and the theme of what's already there, and still feel like a unique character that isn't just a duplicate or a ripoff of somebody else. Well, from the beginning, I asked myself 5 questions that I felt like were a good starting point for me to be able to create a legitimate character, and I needed to know who this character was before I even started drawing. So the first question is theme, then what type of archetype did I want to start with as a basis, struggles or issues that this character has, keywords that I want to keep in mind and keep reciting to myself as I'm designing the character, and then, of course, since this is My Hero Academia, he has to have powers. What powers am I going to give him? So first of all, the theme of My Hero Academia. From a story writing perspective, maybe you guys have heard before, but every story has a underlying grounding theme. At least most good stories do. So, My Hero Academia, I kind of had to reverse engineer what is the theme, the universal overarching theme of the story. Okay, so at this point I'm going to pause a little bit and I'm going to show the 5 different faces that I have that I was picking between, and then from there I kind of continued the design process. And that is, what does the word hero mean to you? And I know that sounds pretty basic, but basically what I mean by that is, what does the word hero mean to each of our characters, and how is that a correct or incorrect viewpoint of the word hero? So for example, Deku, his viewpoint of the word hero means to save people, right? Someone that everyone can look up to, and no matter how terrible things are, a hero will always have a smile on their face. Right? They're something that you can rely on, they're someone that you can believe in to always help you no matter what. Whereas Bakugo, his viewpoint of a hero is very different. In Bakugo's mind, a hero is the one that wins. That no matter what the odds are, you come out on top, whether you're like bleeding, lost an arm, it doesn't matter. You win that fight, no matter what. Very different definition of hero, right? I mean, and you can break that down considering all of the other characters as well. Like my favorite character, which is Todoroki, he has his own viewpoint of a hero, right? And how that word has been damaged from his father being a quote-unquote hero, and then his expectation as a child of what a hero should be as helping people, right? And he originally had a very similar kind of viewpoint, that naivety that Midoriya had of that same viewpoint of being like, a hero is someone that helps people. You want to help people, don't you? That's part of his flashback. So again, I know that sounds broad, but it really isn't. It's very specific. This show likes to explore all of the different definitions of hero. What does that word mean to you, right? And then the villains even play off of that theme. That the idea of a hero who's just in it for the money and the honor and the glory of it is no true hero at all, right? There's all of these different expectations of hero. Again, I could keep going on and on about how this is the theme, but I think you guys are getting the idea. So the next thing that I wanted to kind of figure out for my character is what baseline archetype did I want to start with? So I kind of racked my brain a little bit, and the archetype that came to mind is we really don't have a ladies' man. We don't have anyone that's like actually good with women. All of the guys are like pining after girls, not sure they like women, or they're like a perv. And those are the only guys. We don't really have an actual like ladies man, the ones that all the girls like go crazy for, kind of the flirt of the group, I guess you could say, the one that all of the women talk about. You could kind of identify that as Yuki from Fruits Basket, or Sylvain from Fire Emblem Three Houses, right? That sort of character. So that was kind of my basis for the archetype that I wanted to pick, because we didn't have one already. We didn't have that like kind of punk ladies man. The whole time that I was designing this character, I was thinking in my mind, I want to create a guy that like that all of the other guys are intimidated by, right? I wanted to create that sexy guy that everyone's like, oh no, it's that guy, he's here to steal your girl. The one that Mineta would be like super jealous of and be like, how does that guy like talk to women? He's like the worst person ever, get rid of him, because he actually can converse with women and they like him and he's suave and cool, where Mineta's just creepy and weird. So yeah, struggles or issues that this character probably has. The more I thought about this idea of this ladies man archetype, I wanted to make him kind of a rich kid. So he comes from like a famous family. I was thinking maybe his family owns a bank, or perhaps maybe his family is really influential in a financial standpoint of the world. And so because of that, he has a lot of trouble making real friends, right? He can talk to anyone and he's really schmoozy with the ladies, but it's all very shallow to an extent, because at the end of the day, he has trouble realizing that people would actually want to be his friend for who he is, instead of just be his friend for his money. You know what I mean? Like, there's that sort of wall that happens there, that he's accustomed to all of these girls, like, flirting with him because he comes from a rich home, so he has false friend problems, I guess. So, 5 keywords that I wanted to use in my head and kind of repeat to myself as I was designing the character is I wanted a kid that was cool. Like, when you look at him, he's cool and he just makes your heart flutter a little bit. He's got to be attractive. He's got to be a little bit of a, like, the punk sort of vibe. I wanted him to feel a little bit, like he's cool, but he's not some preppy rich kid, right? He's still got that, like, down-to-earth kind of punk vibe. Elegant, right? He does have to have an air to him that he doesn't bow his head to anybody easily. A little bit cold and a little bit hidden. So, you know, friendly and smiling, but once you start talking to him, you realize that there's a bit of a wall there. The smirk that he has versus like his heroic self being a little bit more hero mode, and just a little bit of texture to myself as I was creating it more than anything. And then powers. This took a while because I was sitting there trying to figure out powers that weren't already used in My Hero Academia. So I was struggling for a while. I wanted to do like plant-based ones, but then there was a plant already, and then I wanted to do like mind control, but that was already a thing. So I really racked my brain, and I think I finally found one that I don't think has been used. Again, I just don't have time to read all the manga, so if there's a manga character like this that already has these powers, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But the powers that I came up with is basically third eye is what I'm calling it, or a target lock type of idea. So basically picks his, or locks onto his opponent. He can see all of their weak points, kind of like your chi points or your like muscle fibers, basically how the quirk is like working under the hood. And because of that, he can use pressure points to disable and disarm his opponent. So he could turn off their powers, he could knock them unconscious, right? And it doesn't have to be these big giant punches, they would be little, intense, very specific points. Kind of think Ty Lee from Avatar: The Last Airbender type of idea, where she can hit certain target points and like make your arm go limp. So sort of that idea, but think of it like a quirk. And I wanted to balance this out, because I didn't want to just create some OP original character. I wanted him to feel like, again, he could exist in this world. In my mind, he's kind of like Eraserhead a little bit, where he can disable a power, but the problem is Eraserhead picks one target, and then he doesn't have to do anything. He just doesn't blink, and they don't have their powers anymore. Where this kid would have to use his motor skills to actually engage with the target, hand-to-hand combat, but then once he obviously knocks different points out, it would be per person how fast their body can get over that trigger point attack, I guess you could say. So he could technically get and knock out multiple opponents, but he would have to do it one at a time, and he wouldn't really know how long that stasis would last. So I felt like that kept him in a checks and balances. The other thing that I really wanted is I wanted to create a third year. Another character that was kind of older that you could look up to a little bit. Again, for that whole like ladies man vibe, I wanted to make him older than our main cast, which is first years. As I was discussing it with John, it would be cool if he was not the top 3, but the top 5, right? What if he's 5th place? He's really struggling to try and get into the top 3. The top 3 are the ones that are like more recognizable. And he, you know, is on his own quest to make it to the top 3 rather than the top 5. Also, of the theme, to wrap all the way back around, so how does he fit in? Be true to yourself would be more or less his angle, where he struggles with that idea of being truly him instead of putting on that facade and making friends. Like a real hero, someone like All Might, gives everything 110%, right? He gives all of his body and his mind to what he is doing. So because of that, a tough opponent for this kid to be able to go up against, because he has worked so much of his body and so much of his mind to be his true self. So I think this kid would definitely fall into an interesting, like, be true to yourself, be honest with yourself, and be honest with me, right? Don't lie to me. Don't try and be my friend because of riches or fame or whatever. And I'm trying my best to just be a cool kid, right? And just be a nice guy and not have that wall between myself and the other people of like a facade. I think that is interesting. I think it's unique. I don't think it's been explored yet. So those were kind of my thoughts when I first started. And then I picked a pose that I wanted to go for and ironed out the pose. And I realized My Hero Academia, for the most part, everyone's body types are mostly the same. We do have some outliers, but for the most part, everyone's kind of in the same boat as far as body structure. So I didn't worry too much about that. I did realize that since he's going to have to be a nimble fighter and he doesn't have to hit hard, I wanted to kind of slim him down, make him muscular but thin, kind of like a runner or like a swimmer, someone that has like musculature and is toned but is very lean, because he would need to be more like ninja accuracy than he would power and strength. So I kind of leaned him down a little bit. Okay, at this point, I'm going to interrupt and I'm going to show you guys the different outfits that I designed. First, you'll notice the pose that I picked for this is very dynamic. One thing that I really wanted to push was the regular goes to school version of him to be more like the rest of them. They always have that very flat, like if you look up a picture of just Midoriya in his school uniform, it's a very flat image. It's not a very dynamic pose. And then with the heroes, they do more dynamic poses. So I really wanted to do a very dynamic pose with him in his hero mode versus his not hero mode. And then as I got into designing, I looked at the My Hero Academia style and then came up with some design fundamentals that I tried my best to really focus on and make sure that I really honed in on, so that way it felt, again, like it could exist legitimately in the My Hero Academia universe. So the first thing was creating a stylized and repeatable design for animation. So you'll notice when I get into the hair part later on, I start simplifying the hair because I wanted it to be no more complicated than Midoriya's. That was kind of my baseline, was I didn't want to make him more complex than the main character because then it's not animatable, right? And it needed to be a repeatable design. It's not something that was too overly intricate as far as like color placement and stuff like that. Fit in My Hero Academia style, kind of existed in their realm of how that show already looks. I am not a My Hero Academia avid drawer, so I am not perfect at the style, but again, this was something that I was reaching for. And obviously, if I was actually in a studio and being hired to do this, I would, do multiple passes of this and then pick from there. So the next thing that I wanted to keep in mind was a recognizable face. Every character has a very recognizable face. You can see them for 2 seconds and you know who it is. So that was something I wanted to keep in mind. Every character also has a very unique eye shape. So I wanted to give him an eye shape that I didn't really run across. I looked through a bunch of the roster and I feel like this one still is similar enough. Kind of went with Momo's kind of idea of her eye, but made it a little bit more masculine and a little bit more triangle shaped. And then all of the characters have a very unique hair silhouette, especially the main cast. So I wanted to make sure that I gave him a silhouette for his hair that was unique in of itself. So the hanging side piece in the front really became my staple, and then the crossing bangs right over his third eye of his forehead. Yeah, so I was going for a little bit of symbolism there as well for his face, as well as an identifiable, unique hairstyle. And then the last thing was unique eye and hair colors. So Midoriya has green eyes and green hair. Bakugo has similar matching eye-hair ratios. So again, I wanted them to match and feel very symbiotic because in this world, they very much go for that symbiosis of character design. So I made sure to give him yellow eyes, and then when I did his hair, I wanted to give him a unique feel for his hair, not just brunette. So I played around with which the top or the bottom to keep dyed, and I dyed all the tips, but then that wasn't repeatable for animation. It was too much. So I just removed it so that way it was just the bottom half was this really bright blonde, and then darker hair on top, because again, I thought that was unique, but still kind of fit in that world. If I was doing this for a studio rather than for myself, obviously I would be meeting in and out with the director to approve different parts, but I looked at a bunch of different inspiration to try and get an idea. I did a bunch of different colors too. I was kind of working my way through the colors to try and decide. I wanted to do, because it was Target, red, but he looked evil, and I didn't really want him to be evil. So I decided to go with green, because that was the next color. And you'll see me paint out this green and white and gold color scheme. But then I showed it to John, and he really liked the blue one, so then I ended up doing the blue one as well. It was super easy to just swap and pop the colors in because I did the shading on a different layer. You'll see both of them done. At the end, you'll see the blue one, which I think is probably better. I was talking to John about it, and again, I wanted it to feel like it fit in this style. So because of that, the colors on the other one are a little bit more muted, which is more my style, the green and the gold. I still think the green had a really good pop to it with the gold, but John voted the blue, so I decided I'd do both. Comment down below which one you like better, whether you think the gray with the white and the gold and the green, or the blue with the green is better. Again, this would be something that if this was for a studio, I could just have it approved. I like the blue a lot, so I think the blue is probably the one that I would end up keeping. I don't know, I really like that pop of green, especially since he's an older classman. I don't think he needs as vibrant of colors. I think the white and gray would be fine, but again, comment down below which one you like better. I'm interested to know. I can't think of anything else. I think that's it, so I'm gonna let the video play, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of the paint. So thank you guys so much for joining this episode of Design Edition of Geek Out. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want me to continue doing these, please comment down below whether you like this version or the other one better. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. It was more work because I had to do 2 character designs because of the hero versus the regular. Why did I pick My Hero Academia to start with? I don't know. Anyway, go start with a bang, I guess. And if you guys want to suggest any other shows that I should do character designs for, comment those down below as well. But thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.